Hi, and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Dan.
Chris.
Lee.
We've got another race to talk about this week.
We do.
It's race week.
It's race week.
Spain, which is always the interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, mainly interesting because of it's really the start of upgrade season.
Yeah.
And Scarbs, if you're listening, answer your tweets.
Since when's that been a thing as well? I noticed every single sort of
Last few
output
years.
it's like no. Whenever people are putting like tweets and stuff up, they're like, "It's race week." That never used to be a thing.
No.
I think that's probably because you get a lot of motor racing, general motor racing Twitter accounts that do NASCAR as well as Formula One, and every week in NASCAR it's fucking race week.
Right. Okay.
36 races in a season.
Yeah.
That's where Formula One will be one day.
I think it's to keep the interest, isn't it? So that you don't. It's always on a Monday, isn't it? You always see Ferrari or someone will post, "It's race week."
Well, we've got a stupid discussion about that. Would you like that? Would you like 30 Grand Prix?
No, I don't think so.
Why?
I don't think it would be good for the sport. I don't think you'd
Good
get.
for NASCAR.
No, it's not. NASCAR's dying on its arse. I don't think that having 30 races in a season would be good for the sport. I think...
Isn't NASCAR still America's biggest motor race in sport?
Only because there's that many races.
No,
Don't they
but
get
popularity.
crowds of like 250,000.
Yeah.
They get massive
I don't
crowds.
think NASCAR is struggling at all.
You do at the big places like Daytona and Talladega.
No, but I don't think they're struggling at all. I think they're doing really well.
I think,
In America, obviously.
Yeah, I read something that was NASCAR, that basically the racing is dying. The event's still an event. People go and have barbecues and beers and enjoy it. And
But I like that. I like the idea of these events where people just go and have a good time and stuff like that.
it's like a festival.
It doesn't have a big motor race like that doesn't have to be an anorak event where everyone sits looking at timesheets. And the fact that it is so they're long, they're just ovals. It is the sort of thing you can check in and check out of, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. Not my scene, but I can understand, as you say, like why
I think
so many
I'd
people
like to go to one.
to
Yeah.
experience it.
Yeah, I think it's one of these things where it's probably better to be there than watching it on TV.
Well, have you ever seen any of the pictures of people when they're right up against the guardrail? The cars go around. The fucking speed of them is unbelievable.
Yeah, and they shake. The guardrail's
Yeah.
shaking ridiculously. Yeah.
There was a really good one where there was a couple of people like with cameras and stuff like that. And when the cars went around, it blew them over.
Nice.
And you can go to that airport in the Caribbean and do that,
I
can't you?
don't like planes.
That would probably be...
You can swim to that airport in the Caribbean and do that.
No, you can swim to that airport in Scotland that we were just looking at before we recorded. This is
St.
really
Martin.
good. Yeah. That's
Is
the
that the
one.
one in the Caribbean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, jumbo jets landing, there's people hanging onto the fence being blown horizontal.
Not a lot to do in the Caribbean.
No. Clearly not.
You
To
can
be fair, they're on the beach.
Yeah, that's fine.
So let's talk Formula One then.
I think we should. But yeah, it's the start of upgrade season because we're heading into the European part of the season now, so all the teams are getting the upgrades ready.
Along with Canada, which is honorary Europe.
Yeah.
They speak French, it's a European language. Where was I? Yeah, Williams apparently have some exciting things coming to the car, according to George Russell, which I am calling PR bullshit on.
I go faster stripes.
I'm not, because I was digging into some autosport today, and they
We all dig autosport, that's why we're recording this podcast.
Jesus Christ, Paul, what was that?
That was the sound of the barrel being scraped.
But yeah, Autosport were explaining that the Williams team they had a backlog of things they had to do that they didn't get done before winter testing, essentially, and they've
make a legal car for starters.
and they've cleared the backlog of things, and now they can start trying to bring updates through. So we're not going to see like a B-spec car, but there is going to be new bits coming to the car. They're still going to be at the back, but it's the
But they
beginning.
might only be 2.5 seconds down.
They might be only 2.5 seconds, and everything it seems like they're going to try and bring through is going to be stuff that's transferable into 2020.
Bloody needs it. Anyone seen any other teams with what they've got?
Ferrari are
threatening?
bringing a big upgrade aerodynamically, but it might help them for this part of the season.
Force India.
But do you remember when we were talking about somebody was saying about that they maybe have designed themselves into a corner?
Ferrari.
Yeah, if this could be their upgrade for the rest of the season.
Well, the big problem for Ferrari is this whole not being able to turn tyres on, isn't it? That's what they need to get sorted out. It's the same with Renault and Haas.
I saw an article. It was a BBC article. I think Jolyon Palmer, your favourite Formula One pundit at the moment, saying that Renault have the 9th fastest car going into Barcelona, which is surprising.
Because they looked like up there with the 4th fastest car.
Yeah, he said there are only 0.3 between 4th fastest and 9th fastest, which is a close pack. But yeah, aside from Williams, Renault are going into Barcelona the slowest team.
I think Renault are in trouble.
I think they are, and I don't think they should be, but they are.
No, they shouldn't, because they're spending big money as well. They're spending big team money.
I think they've got about the highest budget on the grid, haven't they?
And the big team person, I think they've spent more money than anyone else for this year in comparison to what they were spending the year before.
I don't know what they actually ended up with, but when they first came back into Formula One, they had like their 4-year plan or something like that with a budget of like 800 million. Was there?
Isn't it podiums this year?
It was supposed to be podiums. It was supposed to be top 4 this year, podiums next year, World Championships in 2021. That was their plan, I think.
Right. Okay.
So Alonso back to Renault for 2020.
Alonso back to Ferrari for 2020.
Or McLaren.
Or Williams.
Or no, because McLaren won't be in a position to win a World Championship in 2020.
No.
Fernando might claim they will be with him in the car.
And that's why they're softening up Charles Leclerc to be a really, really good number 2.
You think Vettel's bad? Wait to see who you got lined up next.
I mean, what we could be looking at this weekend as well is the last Barcelona Grand Prix for the foreseeable future.
Allegedly, yeah. There's a number of circuits that are still under contract for this year, which don't have contracts for next year. Now, we saw the kerfuffle last week with the British Grand Prix, with Joe Saywood saying that they had a contract agreed for a 3-year deal.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Silverstone then saying it was fake news, then deleting the fake news tweet and said incorrect speculation.
Yeah. So which Joe Saywood didn't retract his article, but put out an extra short statement saying that he believes it must be very close to being done and they can't officially announce it yet.
While all this was going on this time last week, just to let everybody into the workings of how this podcast works, I was sat there refreshing Twitter with a microphone and the recording software in front of me, ready to do a drop-in.
Just in case.
Because
do you realise we don't do this live?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was on a Tuesday, wasn't it?
Tuesday morning, this all happened.
And our podcasts have never been late, ever at all.
And then the news broke. Well, I think the first news that broke was part of the Silverstone thing was that we were expecting a deal with Monza, and that's come through now.
Which, at the time, it was agreed in principle till 2024.
Yeah, is it 2024? It's an extra. I thought it was an extra 3 years. I might have that wrong.
Depending on the source, it's either 3 years or 5 years.
But yeah, anyway, new contract for Monza, so Monza will have the Italian Grand Prix for the foreseeable future. So that's been locked in. As much as we love Imola, it doesn't look like there's going to be a race there unless they bring back some sort of San Marino Grand Prix. For now, at least. And they have ploughed a lot of money into Imola. But yeah, as you were saying about Barcelona, there's a possibility that Zandvoort could be in line to replace Barcelona for 2020.
Now, according to what Charlie Whiting said at the end of last year, I think it was around about October, the circuit itself, the track, is ready and is F1 compliant.
I remember us talking about
It's the paddock that isn't.
Yeah, it's the main problem is the other facilities that are there that will need a hell of a lot of work between now and, well, probably this time next year if it's going to be replacing Barcelona on the calendar.
But that's just general construction, isn't it? Buildings are built all the time.
Yeah, it's construction and making space where there isn't any at the moment.
No, but that's if the circuit's ready for Formula One, that must be the hardest thing to do. To get a circuit up to safety standards for Formula One. The idea of building new garages and new hospitality areas seems like just building buildings.
Did you see any of the W Series on Saturday?
No, I missed it.
Hockenheim's a complete building site at the moment inside the track.
Hockenheim was a building site when I was there when they were using it. That had the worst facilities of any Formula One circuit I've ever been to.
Yeah, it looks like they're building a lot of new
Terrible.
VIP units, so your average punter still won't benefit from what they're doing.
Not at all. I love this. I found out the other day that your F1 going back to the fans, and fan access and stuff like that. Would you like to know what the Silverstone fan access is?
Go on.
Expensive.
You too can have can watch the race in the wing.
Yeah, you too can.
Yeah,
we can't.
With Jenson Button walking around. So obviously I was interested in how much the prices for this. A tiny snip at £2,000 a ticket.
Yeah,
so patrons, if you're listening,
knobhead, seriously,
it's not giving back to the fans.
No.
Fuck off.
So of course, Zandvoort is being talked about as a potential Formula One venue purely because of the Max Verstappen factor, and the fact that you get an orange army at pretty much every European Grand Prix now, sometimes further afield as well.
Look what Alonso did to Spanish Grand Prix, and the fact we had extra one.
Yeah, we had 2 in Spain for a while, didn't we? Just purely because Alonso.
Did anybody see what's happened to that circuit now?
The Valencia
of it.
It looks like something out of 1984.
Yeah, it does.
The Valencia circuit.
Crazy.
Yeah, no one's touched it for 7 years.
Nobody, not even a human foot has been there.
No.
And bearing in mind that was a street circuit, and they were running
Half
past
of it.
what was open shops. It's now a complete ghost town.
No, half of it was street circuit. The street part of it's still street, but the bit that they specifically built round the harbour for racing is now nothing.
Well, I think they had the whole idea of the kind of like a Abu Dhabi type idea, wasn't it, where they build the circuit and then build the city around it.
You mean Korea?
No, Abu Dhabi. They built all the stuff that's around the circuit, didn't they?
Oh, I thought the majority of the sort of Yas Marina area was there, and they put the circuit into it.
No, he made the guy.
It's purpose built,
but
it's landlocked.
But Korea was going to be like that, and they ran out of money and never built the town, which is why everyone hated going there, because there was nothing for 4 hours either way.
Yeah, and. So obviously Zandvoort is the Max Verstappen factor, but another circuit that's under threat for 2020 is the Mexican Grand Prix. So there's some rumours that the Canadian Grand Prix could be shifted to the back end of the calendar for next year.
It would make lots of sense.
In place of the Mexican Grand Prix. Were we not saying last week that they can only have the Canadian Grand Prix at this time of year because of the snow?
But that was
the rain.
Pure speculation.
Yeah.
But bearing in mind, after watching the WEC at the weekend, which got red flagged 10 minutes from the finish because of a blizzard, I don't think it matters anymore.
So Spa is its own weather sort of system.
So we're looking at a potential October Canadian Grand Prix because the possibility still remains that Zandvoort and Barcelona will be on the calendar for next year, next to each other.
But don't forget, they can have up to 25 races, which that is the current agreement which the teams have all signed up to until the next Concord agreement comes in 2021. Because at the same time as the talk about Silverstone was a second British race, and having a street race somewhere in London, not in the centre but around the XL Centre, which is where the Formula E race is going to take place next year.
And it's only been a couple of weeks since we were talking about there being 2 Chinese Grand Prix.
I do not believe that. He must be listening to us. I've just got a tweet off Scarbs. He's on in 2 weeks.
Good man.
Hey. Thanks very much, Scarbs. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Seriously, he could not have timed that better. So, where were we?
So,
we were in London and we were in China.
Yeah, do you remember a couple of weeks ago, just after the Chinese Grand Prix, there was speculation that they wanted a Chinese street circuit as well. I don't know how many. This is all to me. It's just like business bartering. You know like you do in business before deals are done. You put out a little bit just to see how well it's reacted and sort of see, well, let's see how they react if we say this much.
Let's see how Vietnam react if we say that China are getting a street circuit.
Exactly, yeah. Well, Vietnam is essentially, it's heavily penciled in, isn't it? It's not in stone, but it's there ready to go.
That is going to happen.
Yeah.
It's as going to happen as New Jersey was.
I think that circuit's been given a bad rap as well. I watched the virtual onboard with it with Anthony Davidson talking about it.
Through Hanoi?
What?
The street circuit in
yes,
Vietnam.
Yeah. And he seemed to think that there was more overtaken opportunities there than people were giving it credit for. The only thing that I thought was a bit funny about it was there's a straight there that's so long, and like the sim car was at full throttle for so long, it just looks like it's going to be another. Yeah, but no,
another Azerbaijan.
Yeah, but it's going to be another. If you've got DRS, it's just a slam dunk for a pass.
Yeah.
I'm really starting to get bored of DRS. Really getting bored of it.
And the long straights like in China, Baku,
Yeah.
and if Hanoi does go ahead next year. Be interested to see where that sits in the calendar as well. The Hanoi race. We could have, for all intents and purposes, by maybe not next year, but the year after, a completely different calendar to the one we've got now.
Yeah.
Which
Would it make sense to have a European season, an Asian season, and an American season?
Yeah, but I was saying a few weeks ago that it would make just go around the world to cut the costs. Start in Australia, go Japan, China. Go, it'd be a bit weird having Japan at this end of the season, but
yeah, but it was a bit weird having Australia at this end of the season because it used to be the season closer.
Exactly, yeah. So Australia, Japan, China, and then move to the Middle East, Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, Baku, Europe, and then go that way through European season, and then on to the Americas last. It makes sense doing it that way.
The only issue you're going to have with that is Abu Dhabi turn around saying, no, we want the last race.
Which is why
here is another $1 billion.
Yeah, Abu Dhabi are paying an absolute fortune to get the last race of the season.
Yeah, there is that.
In the same way that Australia are probably paying over the odds to get the season opener.
Yeah.
Apart from that year where Bahrain opened the season.
Yeah, but
it was a bit strange that year, wasn't it?
Yeah, but there was Commonwealth Games in the way.
Yeah.
But
wasn't it strange just when they decided to make it a night race so you couldn't see the protesters outside?
Yeah, there was a year it didn't happen as well.
Yeah, there is that.
I mean, I think 25 is probably the maximum.
I don't know
that you can have.
I mean, it's not, because other things have longer seasons. So
yeah, but it's costs, isn't it? And the costs,
Formula One, I'm wanting to put a cost cap on because there's going to be a lot more standardised parts coming in from either next year or 2021.
Yeah,
you're already limited on power unit components.
That's exactly
that you can
my
use.
argument.
Yeah.
How can you limit all these? Here's
but you're talking about extra races. Like, extra races won't bring in extra revenue.
Yeah, but here's an extra 6. Well, here's an extra 6 races to the calendar, or 5 races to the calendar. And you've only got one extra part to use.
But
in
what
the
if
rules.
What if standardizing parts brings the cost down, and extra races?
Well, then they need to do
more,
that,
and extra races bring more revenue in, and that's the way to make it sustainable.
Well, then they need to do that first. They need to standardize the parts first before they start thinking about extra races.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Because this, I'm telling you now, if this carries on as it is, if they announce that there's like 24 races next year, Williams won't be there. Not a chance. They can't afford 24. They can't afford 20 at the moment.
I mean, as things stand, if they're gonna bump it up to 25 races by next year, they're gonna have to increase the number of engine components that are available, purely and simply because next year's engines are already being worked on.
Yeah,
and they've got to make engines that last an extra 1 or 2 races. Well, they would have needed to start that development work maybe 3 or 4 months ago.
Exactly. So we're not saying that there are definitely going to be more races next year, but it's starting to look quite crowded in the calendar.
Do you think this is going to be the problem for Formula One? I'm going to try and get out what I'm trying to say here. It might not won't go very well. But when you look at what's successful in the world as a whole, where the things that are actually still making the money are like big mega corporations, and the like smaller companies are all fallen by the wayside as we live under these big bubbles, which is going to end up in us living a dystopian future where we live in like the Apple City or the Microsoft City.
Well, we know which one you already live in.
But, absolutely. But do you think Formula One's going to come into this issue as well because of with everything being so bespoke in the sport, for it to carry on, do we have to lose some of that bespokeness in the long term? Do you know what I mean? Is the global economy becoming a thing where this is going to be unsustainable?
I think Formula One is making itself unsustainable by adding all these extra races in. Originally, it was stick to 20 races, wasn't it? A season, no more than 20. Then a couple of seasons ago, it was 21.
Yeah, see, I disagree with that. Bringing more races in will cost the teams more. I think the idea of more races is to create more revenue. So if they're creating more revenue, the team should get more money.
Then they need to change the rules first because
Yeah.
they're spending that money now for next year, and they won't get next year's money until the year after that.
Well, that's the way.
And that could be too late, as I say, for a team like Williams.
Maybe that's not the way they should be doing things.
No, that's what I'm saying.
You should be paid at the end of the year. Like as soon as your job's finished, you get paid for it.
TV money.
Or even at the end of every race.
Yeah.
Instead of working a year in hand, which is effectively what happens.
Yeah, yeah.
Although Ferrari are still being paid from 1955.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, let's throw it out there. Let us know what you think about expanding the calendar and if it's a good idea or a bad idea. We haven't had a mailbag for a while, so let us know your thoughts. Drop us an email, 3legs4wheels@gmail.com. Tweet us at 3legs4wheels,
Yeah.
and we'll.
Yeah, I would love there to be more races to watch, but I realise that doesn't come without certain extra costs to the sport.
What would you take? Because this is the thing. If you do add more races to the calendar, I think it would have. Let's say, for instance, let's go. How many races did you say NASCAR had?
36.
Right. Well, let's go 30. All of a sudden, the Formula One calendar is pushed up to 30 races. I don't think you can add more races and keep the format the same as it is. I think you'd need to do something that was more exciting to keep people invested in the product you're making.
Yeah.
And I think you might have to go down the area of maybe 2 sprint races over a weekend rather than the long Formula One race.
You might need to go down the road of
Sprint and
teams
feature.
need to do 20 out of the 30 races and can do a maximum of 22, something like that.
Don't forget though, with NASCAR and Formula One, you are talking about completely different beasts because NASCAR, all right, there's different manufacturers in there,
Spec
but
series.
there's only 3, but it's mainly a spec series, and the cars don't cost anywhere near as much.
But that's what I was saying before. Do you think Formula One can be competitive in the way it is?
That's the thing, because Formula One has always been a prototype formula.
Yeah.
It's never been one single specification.
Yeah.
And
But it's not the road relevant formula anymore. Formula E is the road relevant formula. So for Formula One to survive and thrive, it needs to become an entertainment entity.
I think it needs to decide what it is.
Yeah.
I don't think it can be, well, we want it to be road relevant
Well, unless
and prototype and entertaining.
But when you look at the deal Formula E's got, unless it wants to merge with Formula E, which I imagine it would fucking not.
Formula One can't go electric.
No, well, so if they
Until 2030, is it?
yeah,
about that, yeah.
Which I think Formula One, the way it's going and the way technology's going, will look completely antiquated by the time that deal's up. So Formula One has to change to do something else.
You could always make, as some car manufacturers are doing now, so what I was going to say about the road relevance just before, it could always make it could remain hybrid, but make the petrol engine smaller and the electric motors bigger. So that you end up with like a very tiny petrol motor with only a few kilograms of fuel in it, powering the motor. It's still a hybrid. It's not a full electric series.
I'd be interested to know that how close they can get to electric engines before they become electric engines.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see Formula One's future becoming more like IndyCar than what we consider Formula One.
Yeah.
I think it has to do that.
That's the big argument, though, isn't it? As Dan was saying, about has to decide what it is first before.
I tell you what, if the racing was good, and the cars looked good, and you kept the names of the drivers, like the global recognised names and the glitz and glamour of Formula One, I don't think people will give a fuck. I think all the thoughts of active suspension would be fucking out the window because every Saturday they could sit down and watch a really good product.
I think there would be some people complaining that it wasn't proper Formula One,
and still watch
and they
it.
should go back to how it was in the
Oh yeah,
in
but you get
2018.
But that's going to happen any time there's change. And the funny thing is these people that do the complain, like the Halo people, for instance.
Yeah, Mate, look at all the listeners that we
completely
lost.
ruined F1.
Yeah, all the listeners we lost because of the they were never going to get interested in Formula One after the Halo went on again.
Yeah, completely ruined the sport. I couldn't imagine what this year's cars would look like without one. It's just a part of the car now.
I think the Ferrari looks quite cool with it, to be fair.
The cars that black out the halo, in all fairness, not the ones that pay too much attention. The cars that black them out, like the Ferrari and McLaren, they look better than the ones that sort of try and streamline it in with the colour of the car, I think. But again, I'm not complaining about the halo. It's fine. It's a bit odd at first.
Do you think we'll still have halos in the 2021 rules, or do you think that's when they're going to bring like an aero screen or something in?
Well, IndyCar are trying something different in the Indy 500 this year. The deflection device. It's not a full halo. It's something that sits. Not seen a clear photo of it yet. They haven't released too many, but it's something that sits in the middle of the nose, just in front of the driver, to deflect any objects away. It's kind of a V shape, an arrowhead shape, to deflect any debris away from the cockpit area. Don't know how well that'll work.
Does that not destroy their visibility?
Yeah, but that sounds more like it's for cars riding on the top of cars. Do you know what I mean? Maybe IndyCar have different crashes to Formula One cars.
Yeah, we've seen a lot though, haven't we, in IndyCar where cars ride on top of other cars. Isn't that how Dan Weldon
Wheels
died?
are the one, aren't they?
He got hit by debris.
Yeah.
Was I can't remember who it was. Somebody died by having the car on top of another car.
Was it Dan Weldon that went into the catch fence? That went into the fence really badly? I think he did. Didn't
It
he?
was Dan Weldon that went into the catch fence.
Yeah.
It was
Justin Wilson.
It was Justin Wilson that was hit by debris.
Yeah. Yeah, so you need something, don't you?
I mean, the Dan Weldon accident was a complete sort of
It was a crazy one.
freak, but that was down to track safety as well.
Yeah.
Freak accidents happen though. That's the thing.
That's the issue.
Yeah, you got to try and
Freak out, but I mean, would people watch a Formula? I mean, don't get me wrong. I do not watch Formula One to be a blood sport, and I've obviously championed all the safety procedures and stuff. Would people watch a Formula One with absolutely no risk in it?
probably not.
I wouldn't.
Because there needs to be an element of risk. That's what makes it dangerous, and danger is exciting.
I think to take all the risk out of it, you'd basically have esports with real cars on the track, wouldn't you? The drivers sat somewhere else.
Yeah.
And you would. I wouldn't watch that.
Yeah,
I mean,
the acceptable level of risk is: are they going to bin it by making this pass?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Well, look at Mansell and Senna.
You know that nobody's going to get hurt, but it's still a risky move because they could find themselves in a wall with less wheels than they started with.
Yeah, but look at Mansell.
But able to get out and walk away.
Mansell and Senna was at 91 Spanish Grand Prix, side by side, sparks flying out of both the cars. Didn't know who was going to go into that first corner in the lead.
Yeah,
it's shown on most sort of montages of great moments of Formula One. It was dangerous because if one of them had got it wrong, both of them could have ended up dead. At that particular point. But it was exciting. But if you knew for certain that nothing was going to happen and it wouldn't have been anywhere near as exciting as it was. And that, again, you don't want to see people getting hurt, but seeing the fact that drivers are willing to take risks like that does make it exciting.
I've just invented the future of motorsport in my head.
Oh, here we go again.
No, it's not F-Zero. It's on the way to F-Zero, obviously.
Is it the past?
It's driverless cars, not the robo-racy cars.
Yeah.
But the made to whatever fucking the craziest idea that the best engineer in the world can think of. So we're talking like 500 or 600 mile an hour vehicles that are raced by human pilots outside the car in an esports situation.
That's what Dan was
Just
saying.
like I said, I wouldn't watch
on empty circuits
because that speed is going to be dangerous for the spectators.
because we watch it in VR.
Sat in one of the cars.
Sat in one of the cars or sat on one of the grandstands in VR. So
I'd go for the grandstand. I get motion sickness when I'm playing that Street Luge
but
game
I
on
can
the PlayStation.
genuinely see that being a thing in the future.
Possibly. It's quite. I would say it's quite far in the future. And there are a few steps.
By
between.
2030, I could see that being a thing in the future.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to be. That's probably going to be the nail in the coffin for Formula One, more than like Formula E or anything like that. Is what esports does. I really genuinely think, and don't get me wrong, I know this takes the danger out of it, but I'm thinking of the next generation. I'm thinking of the Twitch generation that spend all their time watching people play video games anyway. They're the heroes. Fucking Ninja is out in Senna these days.
Yeah, I mean, there was 4,500, 5,000 people in the Copper Box Arena in London this weekend watching the Call of Duty World Series.
Yeah, well, even I've noticed that's the going into next gen consoles and the racing games that are coming out now. The ability to jump into esports is getting easier and easier and easier for people to do, to the point where I've been really looking at sort of affordable racing things.
Yeah.
Like a reasonable wheel, a reasonable chair and stuff like that.
Still take 9 hours for each Gran Turismo update to download.
Well, some of us don't use PlayStations, but
You're just waiting for the Apple console.
I would buy an Apple console. But see, that's the thing. I wonder if that'll pacify the lack of danger aspect, because all of a sudden, even if I'm shit at esports, but I do esports, then you can appreciate what the pros are doing more. I think that might be the barrier that breaks the sport wall down.
Yeah, and if you're watching a race in VR from an on-car feed, then the risk factor is there. It's, am I going to barf or not?
I don't get motion sickness in VR, but yeah, I can see. I don't want that to be a thing, but I can really see it being a thing.
All this is stemmed from what the calendar might be doing next year.
Yeah. Tangent.
Not only have we taken a tangent, we've done time travel.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if it ends up like that, then you can have 365 races a year, can't you?
Yeah.
Because there's no travel costs.
No, exactly.
All it needs is bandwidth, and that's getting cheaper. Shall we carry on with the news?
Let's do that.
But the big thing is, everybody can go. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's virtual, everyone can be at the race.
Yeah, but Sky will hold the UK rights and they'll charge a fortune for
Sky will be fucking long dead by then.
Yeah.
Anyway.
it. Anyway. Right, Chris, one thing you noticed earlier, Nick De Vries is now no longer a McLaren young driver.
Well, yeah, he's F2 frontrunner and WEC LMP2 ace Nick De Vries, as reported by motorsport.com. No longer associated with McLaren.
He's been there 9 years?
Is it 9 years? That's a long time, yeah.
He was entombed, for God's sake.
Yeah, how long is he? How old is he?
He's about 26.
He's about 26, so...
He's
okay.
Gary Paffett.
Well, yeah, he didn't want to become Gary Paffett, so he's
Nobody wants to become Gary Paffett.
No, so I wonder if that means either Nick De Vries has something else lined up in the future, or whether there's just, McLaren don't have a seat for him and have, the consecutive next 3 or 4 drivers they would want to bring through already in line.
I want that on my tombstone.
What's that?
You either die young enough to become Ayrton or live long enough to become Gary Paffett.
Well, we all know who the McLaren reserve driver is going to be.
Fernando Alonso.
Yeah.
For next year?
For the rest of this season, if Nick De Vries was the reserve driver at the moment.
Yeah, he's no longer associated with McLaren, so McLaren officially don't have a reserve driver.
But they do have an ambassador that's driven this year's car.
Yeah, so Fernando
it makes
Alonso
sense.
will become reserve driver for McLaren for the rest of the year.
Do you think they make a big announcement about that?
No, it's just I don't think they will. It's just it's been announced that he's leaving Toyota.
It seems like free publicity though for McLaren, doesn't it?
Was that his last race at the weekend? Alonso's last?
No, his last race is Le Mans.
Le Mans is his last race in June,
which is the end of the WEC Super Season, and that's when he's leaving Toyota.
They're already champions.
Can he wrap the? Because they haven't wrapped the Drivers' Championship up.
Drivers' Championship's still available. They have won the Constructors' Championship, but let's face it, they were going to anyway because all the other LMP1 cars on the grid are 2 to 5 seconds a lap, depending on the circuit behind them.
But can he wrap the drivers up in Le Mans?
That's the
last race of the season.
Oh, is it? So it doesn't carry on?
No.
Right, okay.
No, that is it. Le Mans...
Le Mans last year was the first race, wasn't it?
Because there's more WEC races after that, isn't there?
Not in this season.
Oh, right, because it suggested he was leaving early in his statement.
No, he's leaving at the end of the season, which is Le Mans.
Oh, right, and then Brendan Hartley's replacing
him for the 2019-2020 season.
I fucking hate series that cross years.
Yeah.
I didn't say Siri. I didn't say Siri at all. I said series.
He would so buy into Apple Racing.
Yeah, exactly. Totally would.
Yeah, no. What WEC have done, because it used to be the season used to
what
run.
What WEC have done is fuck themselves over.
Yeah, because WEC used to run from February till October, and then they changed it from this season, running February 2018 to June 2019, and now it's going to run September to June every year, with Le Mans as the last race.
I wonder what the budgets of a WEC car are.
A lot less than Formula One, I would imagine.
Yeah, not the same as Formula One, because
and there isn't when you look
cars,
at differences, it's not, it's still a high spec series.
The cars, they usually run them for about 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
because
70s Formula One cars.
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah, but you could argue that Formula One run the essentially same cars because they run the same spec series, don't they, for a chunk of time?
Yeah, but they don't bring out a new car every year.
No.
Like they do in Formula One, and like you know.
Well, there's a way to fix it.
Well, what did I see in something to do with the Lotus this week? The Lotus 72 was released in 1970, and they didn't replace it until 1975.
Yeah, I know that.
So
crazy, isn't it?
I mean, look at how long the Cosworth DFV was the de facto Formula One engine.
Well, it was at the top end of its game in '67, I think, when it came in with the Lotus.
Yeah,
and it ran until '85, I think, was the last race. But by then, it was a sort of back of the grid, sort of heavily modified from what it was. But yeah, it was back of the grid.
But it was still a regular winner up until the start of the turbo era.
Yeah. So 85, I think, was the last year they used the Cosworth DFV. So it did a good 18 years in the sport.
But now, one season for a chassis design and an engine.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
If they were to put a complete freeze on developing new cars, you're right. It would bring the budgets down.
I suppose the only problem then is imagine. I mean, it doesn't matter because Mercedes have won anyway, so I suppose it doesn't matter too much. But if you get a car which is just completely dominant from Australia, do we all switch off and tune back in 4 years' time?
Yeah, that's it. The development rate is something important to Formula One, isn't it? But going back to what we were saying about Nick De Vries, I think he's probably got a seat already lined up for next year
in Formula One.
Yeah, or
think he's good enough?
I don't think he is.
I don't think he'll be in F1 next year.
I think he's got a seat lined up somewhere for next year.
That could be
not
elsewhere.
Necessarily
Formula
F1.
E. Yeah. He looks like perfect Formula E driver.
It doesn't. Doesn't seem like an obvious choice for McLaren to say, right, that's it, you're fired at this point of the season.
No, and also with him being McLaren's official reserve driver, for them only 4 races in the season to be like, right, okay, we've got no ties with you anymore. That to me says that he's signed for somebody else who has nothing to do with McLaren.
Or he's in the process of signing, and part of that means he needs to not be a McLaren driver.
Yeah.
Also, the other thing to bear in mind is he's the young driver, but he's older than one of their first team drivers.
Yeah, he's older than both of them.
Is he older than Sainz?
I think he was 26. He will be. Yeah. I think Sainz is 24.
Of course he will be. Yeah.
So, the reserve driver when he's older than both of those, and they've both got multi-year deals. They're going to be around for a while. There's a chance that he wouldn't even be considered for a seat until he's 30.
Exactly. Yeah.
And these days, that is a bit too late to make your debut.
Let's say that how many Toro Rosso drivers have we seen in the same situation? Like when you've had driver parity in the top team for a while, like that's where the meat grinder got its name from.
Yeah,
it's because Vettel and Webber were in that team for a while.
Yeah. Talking of which, Danny Kvyat's been saying stop Friday sessions.
Danny Kvyat's been saying publicly what's been rumoured a rumour that's been going around Formula One for a while that we chatted about last week, and what Leo already agreed with him on. That Friday sessions, because the teams already know too much. He said there's absolutely no way that we lost FP1. Everybody lost FP1 at Baku,
and it was fine.
And everyone was fine. Nobody had any issues with running. Oh, no, we don't know this, or we don't know that. The teams already know when they turn up. All they need to do is make sure that the tyres work as they thought they were going to, and then they can go racing.
And he was quite right in the way when he said the only time we should ever need it is if it was a brand new circuit.
Oh, make it a rookie practice session, so any drivers who've not raced at that circuit before get the practice session.
That's a very good idea.
Yeah, or non-race drivers race on the or practice on the Friday in one session.
Again,
And then a practice session on Saturday, qualify, and then race on Sunday.
Because of all like the testing lack of testing and stuff like that, all of these teams have invested heavily into simulator work.
Yeah.
So they might as well fucking use them.
Absolutely, yeah. Was it a couple of years ago when Giovinazzi helped? Was it Sauber with their Giovinazzi helped Sauber with their car setup, and they had no track time at all whatsoever during FP1 or FP2. He set the car up by working overnight in the simulator, set the car up for them, and they got one of the best results of the season.
Yeah, doesn't surprise me. Like,
I mean, yeah, the technology is definitely there to do it all on the simulator, but as you said, it just comes down to the tyres. I like the idea of rookie and non-racing driver sessions.
yeah, it seems reasonable.
Because a guy who ran across the circuit in China a couple of years ago, he might get a go on a Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll hold off a couple of years for him to have a Sunday session because needs more practice.
Yeah.
So you'd be looking at circuit rookie, wouldn't it? That'd be the
if
idea.
you've not raced at the circuit before, then
Circuit rookie or test driver.
Yeah.
Actual test drivers, you know what I mean? Not drivers who are going to race in the race. Unless
No,
you've
well,
not-
we mean if
you've
it's
got
a
the
new
young driver
circuit.
tests for that.
Yeah, but I mean, but unless you've not raced at the circuit before, as you're saying, then yes, you can do the test. But the Friday tests, one session, should just be for test drivers.
Oh, no, but
to test what the teams need to know.
But then you're still doing the session, aren't you?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
but it's not an interesting.
It's about familiarising the driver who's going to be racing around the track with the track. It's not about the teams learning anything. Now, of course, the teams will learn things because they get track time. They'll make use of it, but that's an incentive for them to have rookies in the car.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you could do away with Fridays altogether, but having one long session on the Saturday morning and then qualifying a bit later in the afternoon, an hour later or something. Yeah, so what we now know as FP3, which is an hour long?
Yeah.
We make that an hour and a half, or 2 hours maybe, and then put qualifying back an hour. That might make sense. All the teams. Danny Kvyat's argument is that all the teams need to know is that the tyres work at the circuit the way they thought they were going to work, because all the setup can be done in the simulator, and they go there with the setups already known. They don't. Very rarely do they change the setups unless the weather changes.
Well, basically, they go, "Is the simulator right?" Don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Essentially. There's been correlation issues, haven't there? Williams last year had correlation issues between simulator and track.
Yeah.
Mercedes for the first 6 races last year.
And Red Bull this year. Was it this year or last year? I can't remember. Red Bull have had correlation issues.
I think that was another one last year.
Yeah, between what the simulator said and what was actually happening on the track. But that, excuse me, I mean, they should be able to find that out within a 2-hour Saturday session. Should be fine. Tyres, do they work as we thought they did? No, they don't. Well, okay, well, everyone's in the same boat then, aren't they? It's not just the one team, because we all use the same tyres. We're all in the same boat. If your tyres don't work as you think they're going to, well, tough shit. You've had 2 hours to work it out, same as everyone else. Qualify. Go.
I don't think that's a daft idea at all.
No, I don't think it's a daft. But it just seems a bit. I don't know if you could get rid of Friday sessions altogether, but if you did, that's how you do it. In my formula, Chris.
But of course, the other issue is some things would still need to happen on Friday because you've got the support series, qualifying and practice sessions.
Yeah,
Because
because
you
abolish
can't-
Porsche Super Cup.
But you've still got F2 and F3.
Yeah.
And it's a question of there's only so much track time that you can have during the day.
I'd argue if Formula One drivers don't only need one practice session, then the
Well, F2 and F3 only get one practice session and one qualifying
so
session.
you practice F2 first thing in the morning. You put the Formula One cars out after them qualifying. Then you do the F2 qualifying straight afterwards.
Where do you fit F3 around all that? And the F2 having 2 races. Because if you binned off Fridays altogether and a race weekend,
you'd have to organise the race weekends better. But
if the race weekend Saturday and Sunday, then
think about how many races are done on a MotoGP weekend.
Yeah, you got Moto 3, Moto 2.
Yeah,
and a MotoGP weekend is 3 days.
No, yeah, but you could fit these sessions in on the Sunday. On the Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, I'm sure you could. You could work a way around that.
MotoGP has 3 classes.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, and they fit all those in around a 3-day weekend with practice and qualifying.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I think you could do it. It's
it
not
would
impossible.
It would probably be a little bit too much.
I'd argue you don't need F3. I'd argue that F3 could be its own thing, or they could use European Formula 3, and it would not only...
Well, that's been integrated now. Is it international Formula 3?
But you could cast off Formula 3 then, and if it would do anything, if you ran... let's say we do Lee's idea, and you put the F2 cars out first thing in the morning. You could even do it where you put the F2 cars out first thing in the morning, they come back in, they go qualifying straight away, and then you do the same thing with Formula 1. You have like a shakedown and then qualifying. And what that would do, because all of a sudden F2, you haven't got F3, you run F2 exactly the same as Formula 1, as in ran the fucking world with you, and it boosts the F2 brand as well.
So you still need to have 3 F2 sessions on a Saturday, though?
What?
Well, where do you put
No, you run the same championship.
So where do you put the race?
Sunday. You run the same championship.
So you get rid of the sprint. You get rid of the sprint race. Right? Sorry, you weren't making that clear.
I said you run the same championship.
But you're the one that's arguing for an F1 sprint race as well.
No, I have done in the past. No, but what you do then is it would be a proper Formula 1 Junior Series F2, like a real Formula 1 Junior Series where people could get invested in it more.
I don't think that's a bad idea for F2, to be honest with you. And F3 is not at every race, is it?
No, I mean it's the first race.
Well, F2 isn't at every race.
And I tell you what, I bet the TV viewer figures for F3 are rubbish. I bet you.
Yeah, they probably are.
So, don't forget what you're thinking of. All these races that go on, like they used to have Porsche Super Cup as well.
Well, they still do.
Yeah, but they only have a certain race, don't they? But
that off is rubbish.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's big gaps of time that doesn't need to be had.
Yeah, I mean, get rid of the Porsche Super Cup would help.
Yeah.
Although back in the 80s, it was the truck racing.
I'd have preferred to watch truck racing.
Truck racing is good fun.
Yeah.
Didn't they have the British touring cars as a support race for British Formula 1 once?
It was was it the European Grand Prix in Donington? The support race was the British touring car round of Donington.
Quite possibly.
I think it was. Yeah. Yeah, it may have been then. Yeah, British touring car has supported Formula 1 in the past, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Or keep it at the 3-day sessions and include other series in there, giving other series like the touring cars chance to race on proper circuits with proper infrastructure.
Nobody likes a multi-band gig.
It's called a festival.
No, but do you know what I mean? I think if you were going to try and run 2 serious championships, and do it in the way that
but it's not the same support race. It's not the same support race every time.
Oh right, okay, that's not bad. Yeah.
So Silverstone, you'd get a round of British touring cars.
I do think F2
at
should be.
Hockenheim, you get a round of DTM.
Yeah, I do think F2 should be go to every race.
Yeah,
I think if you've got a real junior series, it doesn't make sense to skip races.
Yeah, I mean, especially at the end of the season with the 5-6 week gap between the last 2 races.
Yeah,
it kind of sort of all tails off, and then look, it's happening again.
Yeah.
Do you know
you've got to wait for Abu Dhabi, haven't they? The
Yeah.
last race in GP2. I still call it GP2 because F2 just sounds wrong. F2 for me is what they race over there in the stock cars.
Yeah. But you're right. Not to keep batting around the same conversation, but the general consensus here, without us realising it, is Formula 1 needs a proper weekend shake-up. All of us are in favour of changing Formula 1 weekends in some way, shape or form. So it's, like subconsciously, we're all a bit bored of the way Formula One
If
runs
they
itself.
keep Friday sessions, then I want to see a sprint race on a Saturday.
You could wrap. See, there you go. Maybe getting rid of if they want to keep it to 3 days, so they're still getting the tally revenue and stuff like that. You do keep the Friday session. You don't have the Saturday test to keep the cars off the track, and you have your sprint race, but you do like the last 15 minutes of Friday test is qualifying.
But then Kvyat's suggestion was based on the teams not having to get there on the Friday.
Ah, right, okay. I thought
Cost.
I thought it was down to like component usage and stuff like that. But
There's that as well, probably, but especially if they're going to be doing more races. As we
maybe he's
talked
just
about earlier.
always late. Maybe he's really bad at keeping time.
Maybe he's been told that he's going to miss some FP1s later in the season.
I also don't believe anybody in the Red Bull driver program says anything of their own making. That usually these things have been dropped on them by Christian Horner.
Yeah.
Maybe get rid of qualifying altogether and have a qualifying race. It still counts for points towards the World Championship, and the grid on Sunday for the main race is the actual order that you finish in. So if you bin it in race 1, you start at the back of race 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From the gravel trap that you ended up in. It's like golf.
I've always enjoyed
Drive it where it lies.
I've always enjoyed reverse grid pole in GP2 as well. So you could do
You get that race for 8th.
Yeah.
So that when they flip the grid, then 8th is then first. For
yeah. But you could do reverse grid pole in Formula One, but from the last race. That's how you would do one qualifying session a year. You would do a qualifying session in Australia, and then the race results make the qualifying for the rest of the year. But yeah, I think a shake-up is it would be a good thing for 2021 for Formula One to
do something different.
to feel fresh.
Yeah, don't think FOM are actually going to do that because they want the entrance money for Fridays.
Yeah, but what would you rather? Would you rather the gig tickets, or would you rather sell more merch and CDs over the course of the year?
Depends how many people came to the gig.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? Like you could. To me, it would make more sense for them to have eyes on telly. There should be more eyes on telly than there are bums on seats. So for me, if they make something more exciting, it doesn't matter about losing a day.
Well, what they're doing should all be about how entertaining the race is.
Yes.
And none of the decisions about what happens on a Friday should be based on how many people come through the doors. It should be about how it affects how interesting the race is.
Yeah.
On
You
Sunday.
could argue a lot of thought about making qualifying more exciting has wasted energy, because realistically all qualifying is just to get them in the order for what we want to see.
Yeah.
Which is why I think a qualifying race would make it a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which counts, as you say, points towards the championship.
You get
Yeah.
points, maybe only half points.
Mm-hmm.
They'd have to rejig the points so it's all even numbers. But you get half points for the qualifying race, and then you get your grid position from there.
Yeah. No, it seems fucking reasonable, doesn't it? None of this is going to happen. 2021 is going to roll around. There's going
Just
to
put
be
us in charge.
mild aero changes. The engines will stay the same. Teams will be going bust.
Everybody will have the same brakes, though.
Yeah, everyone will have the same brakes and the same mirror glass.
And Grosjean will still be kicking off. I mean, if they are applying, if they are actually attracting tenders for brake supply, is one of the tests that they've got to, the prospective supplier's got to do, create a brake system that Grosjean is happy with.
No, because that's like an unreasonable condition.
Yeah.
Daniel Ricciardo could probably do with some brakes he's happy with as well.
It's one of those exceptional reverse gear, perhaps. It's one of those exceptional circumstances, isn't it? Grosjean being happy with brakes. So you know that if you make...
You could have stopped after being happy.
Grosjean being happy with brakes, because if he's happy with the brakes, you know that the rest of the grid are going to fucking hate them.
Yeah, they're a bit keen.
Yeah.
Grosjean feels spongy. Right, so Spanish Grand Prix this weekend.
Yes, at Barcelona, which is where they obviously do the pre-season test. So it's the second time that Formula One, these cars are going there, but first time they've been there to race.
Because we all know what the Winter Championship is worth.
Exactly.
Everything to Ferrari.
Yeah, it seems so.
What do we reckon? Are we going to see another Mercedes 1-2, fifth in a row?
Well, given how strong Ferrari were in testing in Spain, bearing in mind that temperatures are going to be different.
Yeah.
If they can't get it right in Spain now, then they're not going to get it right over the season, I wouldn't have thought.
Over the first half, at least.
Yeah, but don't forget there's going to be a massive difference in the car that Mercedes is running this weekend compared to the ones that they were running in testing.
No, because they brought a load of updates to Baku, didn't they? They brought a chunk of their Spain updates. Yeah, they've already said.
Yeah, but Mercedes are going to be running with all the sandbags taken out.
But they've already said that they haven't got a lot of stuff to bring to Spain.
Red Bull have said that their upgrades are going to be subtle.
Yeah,
Ferrari do have a
they're in the same boat.
Yeah, Ferrari do have a powertrain upgrade, but as to whether or not that'll be, whether it's reliability or performance, who knows?
Even Ferrari brought Spain bits to Baku, I think.
Did they?
Yeah, I think they brought a couple of things, but obviously they've got they'd already brought the control electronics in 2 races early.
And there's a minor upgrade to suspension, I believe, front suspension for Ferrari, which may be something to do with the tyres not being switched on, as we were talking about earlier, about Ferrari not being able to get the tyres up to temperature. That may be a suspension issue, so we'll see.
I expect to see big gains from Force India
in Spain.
Yeah.
Racing Point.
I know.
Do
you know what?
Swear, Joe?
No. Do you know what? I even knew before I said it because it's a daft name.
Racing Point.
Yeah.
Whereas Force India is a really sensible name.
Only just more sensible.
Yeah, Racing Point. I can't get used to it.
No, I don't like it.
Haas have been pretty quiet on the upgrade front.
Yeah, Ferrari haven't told them yet.
Extra can of rich energy per driver.
That's probably about all they've got at the moment. If Ferrari aren't giving them anything,
we usually see Haas starting well, don't we? And then they sort of drift off a little bit.
No. We usually see K-Mag starting well and then Haas drift off a little bit.
Yeah,
but they looked really good in testing. It's fucked.
And we haven't
similar to Ferrari.
It's that 0.3 gap, isn't it, from 4th to 9th we were talking about before? But it's we don't quite know where Haas is sitting on that spectrum. I wouldn't say that they're 4th.
No, I wouldn't say they're 4th.
But they're not as bad as Renault at the moment.
I'd argue that Renault and McLaren are what you would consider 4th at the moment.
Renault and McLaren?
What? Yeah.
Renault are the 9th fastest car at the moment.
No, but when they can actually get a weekend together.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I think they've actually got the machinery there.
We only saw that in China, though, really.
Yeah. I think the car is there to be the 4th fastest car, but they need to make it work.
Hulk was best of the rest in China, wasn't he?
Yeah. It's like Ferrari, isn't it? We know they've got machinery to match or beat Mercedes, but they don't seem to be able to get it right.
Yeah. I don't know about 4th. I think Racing, as you say before, I think Racing Point probably very slowly just edging their way towards that 4th place. McLaren are there on points at the moment.
I think McLaren are going to keep it.
Yeah, I think they have quietly crept up the midfield without us really noticing.
Yeah, and also I put more faith in McLaren developing their way through the season than I would like Racing Point or Renault.
Racing Point historically have been pretty good at developing through
with
the
no
season.
money as well.
Yeah.
But
Racing Point usually get it together round about sort of Silverstone.
And then have a storm in second half of the season,
I think the thing you got to remember is, though, and this is only if they've got their shit together, it's not just an accident, but McLaren are the sleeping giant on the grid, aren't they?
Yeah.
If they can get their stuff together, they're a fucking juggernaut of Formula One.
Yeah, whereas Toro Rosso running that Honda engine and, Albon looking quite good, Kvyat occasionally looking pretty good. Are actually scoring sort of fewer points than the rest of their midfield rivals. They've only scored, I think, 4 points so far this year. So, Honda upgrade that they had at Red Bull at the last race might did it find its way into Toro Rosso at Baku, or is it going to find its way in Spain? Because
I think it'll be Spain. I don't think Toro Rosso had it. The pace that they had was based on what they started the season with.
Because they could do with it. Because I think Alpha, Haas, we were just talking about then, McLaren. I think that they're all going to start improving from this point onwards, and you really need to be a bit. Any team basically in that really tight midfield pack can't afford to fall behind now. And if any of the teams bring something to Spain and it doesn't work, it's going to be quite difficult for them to catch up for the rest of the season. They'll find themselves languishing, should we say, 8th, 9th place maybe, which is not where they want to be. They want to be fighting for any of those teams could be fighting for 4th or 5th.
I mean, it is the tightest season that we've seen outside the top 3 in a long time.
Midfield-wise,
we've got 6 teams going for capable of going for 4th place.
Wouldn't it be great?
Yes.
Wouldn't it be great if we got a
6
Formula 1 season like that one day?
6 teams that are capable of it. I'm not saying they are all managing it, but they should be capable of it.
Yes, 60. It's fair thing to say. I was just thinking about it as you said it. I was like 6. Yeah, 6 is fair.
I think Racing Point getting 4th in the championship is going to rely purely on Lance Stroll getting himself together.
He has struggled to get his feet under the table, hasn't he, at Racing Point, even though his dad...
He struggled to get his feet under the table in Formula 1. Certain races, he's had certain races where you go, fucking hell, actually, he might be a decent driver.
Yeah, I mean, he put Sorokin away quite comfortably, didn't he, in their season together at Williams.
Do you know what? He needs to learn how to qualify.
Yeah, you're probably right.
8 races out in FP1, Q1.
Yeah, it's not ideal. Yeah. Not when your teammate is
Sergio Perez,
where he is,
and does pretty well.
Yeah,
yeah. Although, having said that, Lance Stroll did have a fairly strong Baku, didn't he? And came through to finishing the points.
But he's been good. He's been good in Baku before.
He has, but he needs to be better on the rest of the calendar.
Do you think Perez has ever got a chance of being in a top team?
Allegedly, he turned down Ferrari to join McLaren in 2013.
Me too.
You know when he had that year at McLaren?
He left the Ferrari Young Driver program to join McLaren.
Well, he had a chance of joining Ferrari, apparently, and turned them down to join McLaren.
I think that was probably a sensible choice that year, wasn't it?
Maybe. It was Alonso Massa, was it, 2013?
Yeah, he'd have been Massa'd.
Yeah, so Massa would have been moved on to Williams a season early.
Yeah. I'm not sure, because if he'd have...
If the top teams weren't full already...
But he fucked himself in McLaren, didn't he? I don't think he ingratiated himself very well to the team. And
he was shit.
Yeah, and he tarnished his reputation pretty massively.
Yeah.
So, but if he'd have gone to Formula 1, if he'd have gone to Ferrari and known he was going to be Alonso's junior driver, so that's what he had to do, then maybe he wouldn't have had the issues that he had in McLaren.
Quite possibly, yeah.
Yeah, but I think when he went to McLaren, it was pretty much nailed on that he was going to be Jenson Button's number 2.
Yeah, you're probably right, but I don't think he took it very well, did he?
No, I mean that's why he only lasted one season. It's rare for McLaren to bin a driver after one season.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know Alonso left first time, but that was his decision, and he bought himself out.
Even Kovalainen got 2 seasons.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at, I can't think of another McLaren driver that only lasted one season apart from Michael Andretti.
Didn't even last a full season.
And he didn't last a season.
Mansell didn't last a full season.
K-Mag only got one, didn't he?
K-Mag did only get one.
He did, yes.
Good point, yeah. Magnus, well...
One on a race.
One season and one race,
Haas is the first team that he's ever had 2 seasons in, isn't it?
Yeah.
No.
Yes, it is, yeah.
Right. What do we think for predictions then? Shall I do the people what aren't here first?
Yeah, do them first, yeah.
Right.
I get thinking for... Barcelona predictions. It's going to be tough. It always is. But...
We will start with this week's guest predictor, which is one of our longest serving listeners.
Yeah, well,
I suppose we should say longest serving. Well, he's in the services.
I would say enduring listeners.
This is episode 202, and I think he's been with us since episode 02 at least.
Possibly
01.
Yeah. So this week's guest predictor is Michael Cohen.
Hello, Michael.
Hi, mate.
Michael.
Long-time listener, first-time predictor, but not the first time he's got in touch with us.
No. Today.
He is going for a Bottas win,
Okay.
Hamilton second, and Leclerc third.
Don't think that's a stupid prediction. I think it's a very good prediction.
It's a safe prediction.
What's his? Sorry, what was that?
Bottas, Hamilton, Leclerc.
No, because Leclerc's not going to be allowed to come third.
Well, at some point, Vettel is going to spin himself off the circuit.
That's why Ferrari have guns.
Sean has gone for a Hamilton win, Leclerc second, and Bottas third.
Again.
You've got to take into account the Vettel going backwards.
You've also got to take into account Ferrari getting a massive, big, horse-shaped dildo and doing themselves race by race.
However, remember that Mercedes have form in Spain.
Well, Rosberg had form
when
in
there's
Spain.
two drivers going for a championship.
Yeah.
That Rosberg chose the wrong gear coming out of the corner.
I will also point out that this is where Bottas checks out, and then he has a good race in Russia, and then he checks out again for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't think he's on a charge then?
I think he's exactly where he would have been last year if he hadn't have had bad luck.
I think this Spanish Grand Prix, we are going to see the Mercedes 1-2 long run broken, but I think they'll get a 1-3. So I'm going to say Hamilton win, Verstappen second, Bottas third.
Okay. Who's up next?
It's tough. It's tough this season.
Well, if you look back for the first four races, it's not actually been tough when you see that it's been the same two drivers on the top two steps of the podium.
Yeah,
Remarkably easy.
I think there's at least two of those races that Mercedes did not deserve to win.
Bahrain.
Bahrain, definitely.
It was all right. Sorry, that was one of yours.
Even I wouldn't go that low.
So yeah.
So barring any bad luck, that's how you do it.
Yours.
I reckon we're going to have like Vettel leading on the last lap, but it's still going to be Bottas first, Hamilton second.
You think Bottas is going to put Hamilton away again?
Maybe. It's possible. I don't think it's impossible, put it that way.
It's not impossible.
Crazy.
He does seem to have something different this year.
Mm-hmm.
An accelerator.
Yeah.
His tyre didn't blow up.
He's got a bit of confidence. He's got his head together.
Mm-hmm.
It's a combination of beard and porridge.
And
I will also point out that Bottas doesn't do well with rumours kicking about, and the Max Verstappen rumours have just started.
Dan is
you're
thinking.
you're only trying to dissuade me from this because you're scared of me winning the points.
Absolutely.
Lee, I am looking above your head, and your square-headed cardboard Valtteri Bottas has fallen over in disgust.
It's a sign.
Yeah. Bottas, Hamilton, Verstappen.
Even though Vettel will be leading at the start of the last lap.
Yeah.
Okay. Lee?
Vettel, Hamilton, Leclerc. Because Ferrari will be the quickest team in Barcelona. They will have a 1-2. They will lock the front row out in qualifying. They will have no fucking idea what to do with this. And they will pit Leclerc on a stupid lap again. Which
lap
will,
2.
Yeah, which will allow Hamilton to be second.
I think this could be the reverse.
Kubica will pit for new tyres and Ferrari will be like, Charles, we're pitting you to cover off Kubica.
Fuck off. He'll be pitting in Baku.
Yeah, I think this could be the reverse of what we saw with Mercedes in 2016, and I think we could have the two Ferraris having a little bit of a tangle.
That'd be good.
Maybe,
I think that's going to happen at some point this season.
it will happen this season. It's not maybe not leading, maybe both chasing Hamilton or something like that. But I think they might have just a little bit of a.
No, in true Ferrari form, I think the first time both Ferraris hit each other, Monza.
Oh, it could be, but the threat perhaps of Verstappen, because I know he won his first race, didn't he, in that infamous 2016 Mercedes crash race. His first race at Red Bull, but he's been pretty handy there the 2 years since as well.
Yeah, but I don't. That's not the same Red Bull that we're used to seeing. That's not the same Red Bull that we get to a chassis-dependent circuit and expect them to be able to win. That's the Red Bull that gets to a chassis-dependent circuit.
No, they only won that race because the two Mercedes decided to bin each other off.
No, but it has been a thing in the past, hasn't it, where the Red Bulls have come to circuits which have like got the high downforce corners and stuff like that. And we've always thought, like, it's always been my thing that, especially if you get a Red Bull in fourth, for instance, on the grid, it's worth a $5.
Yeah.
It's worth a punt, but I don't think they're worth a punt right now.
I do, and that's why I'm going for a Hamilton win, Bottas second, and Verstappen third.
Fair enough.
Because I think Max has got what it takes. He can get more out of the car, certainly in Spain, than you'd expect him to.
Yeah. It's crazy, though, isn't it? The fact that he's got a teammate in exactly the same car, and we just discount Gasly.
Yeah. Yeah, completely. We've not even said he's going to get podium yet, have we? Is that the same, you on for the same as me there, then? Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas?
No, I've got Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen.
Oh, right, okay, sorry.
I think the 1-2 run is going to carry on.
Okay.
And you will all be getting messages now, because the only thing I've had to write this down on is our Facebook message thread.
I hope so.
Just to prove that I'm not cheating either. Obviously, you can join in on the predictions as well. We've got our prediction league going on the website.
We have, and it's very, very tight at the top.
Tight at the top. There is only 2 points between the top three.
Yes.
Same rules as us. 3 points for getting the driver in the right place in the top three. 1 point for getting the driver in the top three in the wrong place. But you've also got the choice of fastest lap and pole position as well.
There is somebody who keeps... I don't know if you've spotted this person. I can't remember their username on the championship. But there's somebody who keeps putting Kubica down for everything. Kubica for fastest lap, Kubica for pole, Kubica for the win, and then 2 other people second and third.
Without looking, I've got a feeling I know who it could be. And there is a couple of suspects and regular tweeters that spring to mind. Dave Roebuck.
Yes, let's shunt it. Need to get one, actually.
You haven't got a shunt?
After all.
Well, I was talking, wasn't I? I was wising you all up.
If that's what you want to call it.
I revert you to Dan's previous comment of that's what Lee said last year. Sorry. Dan is a beacon of my truth.
Even a stopped clock.
Even a stop clock guesses Williams right every time.
And you have put Alonso in about 8 teams for next year. So
Ferrari, he's going to be in a Ferrari.
And McLaren?
No.
I'm pretty sure he said Red Bull at one point.
No,
and Red Bull.
Oh, Red Bull is a chance. But if he won't be back in McLaren because McLaren can't win a championship.
Yet.
Right, so
2021.
Ferrari or Red Bull. If he's not in a Ferrari or Red Bull, by Australia next year, we get to say Lee was wrong.
Oh, I'm wrong.
Oh, Lee's wrong, but
I'm wrong.
He's also hedging his bets by just saying everything.
Hey, let's be honest here. We do talk about more things I get right than things I get wrong.
Especially with Williams.
Yeah.
You haven't heard the full edited versions of these shows, have you?
Well, in these 4 walls, they know the truth. But
but it can't get out because you blind them with tinfoil.
Well, this is true. But
let's shunt.
I'm like Eddie Jordan, essentially. He does
what
say
a twat.
Yeah, fucking undoubtedly. He does say stuff and it sounds crazy.
Oh, sorry.
And then Lewis Hamilton goes to Mercedes.
Kind of looks like your real hair.
Actually, a twat and a shit drummer. I knew that was a rug.
What? Sorry, I don't listen to you. Who
sent this one in, Lee?
This is in from Red.
Red Bennett?
It just says Red.
Red Bennett, long time listener as well.
If it is Red Bennett.
I was going to read his Twitter handle out then, but I'm not. I'm not going to.
Okay.
Because he might not want me to.
Fair enough.
What am I doing? Right. I was born.
This is the correct way to start Total Shunt.
In 1953.
So
that's an older one.
Yes.
So of the years, Dan, yes.
6. What's that?
Older
66 this year.
66?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won the European Super V Series in 1977.
Super V.
Yeah, VEE.
Okay. In 1977.
But I now want a Super Lee Series.
Right. Okay.
I don't think I even know what that is. It sounds sports car-y.
Does a bit.
Yeah.
I raced in the US base International Race of Champions. I take that is IROC.
IROC, yeah.
Series 3 times in the 90s. I didn't even know the Race of Champions had gone that long.
Well, yeah. It's been on since 70s, is it?
Oh, yeah, it's been kicking around for a long time.
I only came across it when they started using like the buggy things in stadiums.
Yeah, it used to be all rally drivers, didn't it?
Yeah.
It was like just one big super stage.
Oh, right.
But so we're looking at somebody who raced for America in the 90s, possibly, or did the American series of IROC in the 90s. Hang on, American series of the International Race of Champions sounds like
the World Series.
Yeah, exactly.
At least that has 2 teams in from Canada.
I would like a wild stab in the dark, please.
How old Andretti Senior? He's older than that now, isn't he?
Yeah.
66, much older.
And if it was Super V Series in 77, Andretti,
Yeah, he was Formula One by then.
Yeah.
Easy, yeah.
Could be Marco. No, probably too young for Marco. Could be Michael.
Gonna have to rush
Michael, what, Andretti?
Yeah.
20... No, racing in 77.
But then again, born in 53.
Yeah, exactly. Wasn't Mario Andretti only born in the Second World War?
This is good, because I don't know who it is. I can't even give it away because I can't see it at the bottom of the page.
It could be an Andretti brother.
Should we go
Luigi?
Helmut Marko's older than 66 as well, isn't he?
I don't think he is.
Is he not?
No.
Go Helmut Marko.
Well, yeah.
Go on then.
That's
We'll
a
go
good shout.
Helmut
Good shout.
Marko.
I have overall wins in the 12 hours of Sebring and the 24 hours of Daytona.
Again, endurance races that I pay no attention to.
I think Helmut Marko was more of a rally driver, wasn't he? So I think we're definitely looking at somebody very sports car-y.
Yeah.
My son, also a racer, was the star in one season of The Bachelor, a programme I have never heard of.
Please continue.
I think that's the one where they have people making soup out of a packet. And the one that makes pasta and sauce gets eliminated. The only other racing driver that I know has anything to do with the name Batchelor was John Batchelor, who used to race in BTCC, bought York City Football Club, and 1 year for sponsorship reasons changed his surname to Top Gear when Top Gear magazine was sponsoring him, and the following year changed his surname to B&Q. Died of alcohol poisoning.
Oh dear.
I won a number of feeder series titles in my home country before moving to the US for good in 1985.
So not for evil.
So not yeah. He didn't move to the US for bad reasons. He moved.
I
for
moved
good.
there for good.
Yeah.
So not NASCAR then.
So somebody who's clearly not American then.
Just trying to think of the sort of possible IndyCar races around about the time that Mansell went into it in '93, because there was a fair few European and South American drivers.
What year
there.
did you say you moved to America?
85.
Yeah.
Dan's got his thinking cap on.
I was just wondering about Tommy Byrne.
Yeah.
He sounds like a comic book character. Or
was
a
he
stunt
European
rider.
champion before?
I think he would have moved there a bit later. Because he tested for McLaren the same time that Senna did, didn't he?
Did he?
How old's Emerson Fittipaldi?
Don't know, but Fittipaldi would have been Formula 1 77, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he probably would, actually.
Yeah, he would have been. That means that Fittipaldi would have been 19 when he won his first World Championship. Don't think that was the case. Fittipaldi's got to be in his 70s then.
I think Tommy Byrne's probably a good call. And it is a guess question, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Let's go Tommy Byrne. Why not?
Yeah.
My first Indy 500 win was the same day as Senna's third Monaco win.
Not Tommy Byrne.
So we need to know who won the 1980... Oh, 1990. 1990 Indy 500?
Could be Paul Tracy because he's Canadian.
Was he the one that got off the island?
Yeah. Like Senna won 6 Monacos, didn't he? He was leading in 88 when he crashed. That wasn't one of his wins. Definitely won in 90. I think he won 93. I think he won definitely won 92 and 91. So yeah, his third would have been 90, possibly even maybe 89. So we're looking at an Indy 500 winner from 89, 90.
Yeah, Paul Tracy's around that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't. Yeah, go Paul Tracy-ish for now. Possibly, maybe we'll see.
Currently, I spend my time as a race steward for the IndyCar series.
Not Paul Tracy because he's a commentator for the IndyCar series. Ooh, Arie Luyendyk. Dutch, obviously.
That was going to say, that sounds like a question.
My second Indy 500 win was in 1997 under controversial circumstances.
So that'd be the year after Jacques.
Yeah, Jacques Villeneuve. No. He didn't. He was 96. Jacques Villeneuve was already in Formula 1. So,
Yes, he was.
So 95 would have been his Indy 500
95 was
win.
his last one, wasn't it?
Did he win 95? Was it 94 he won the Indy 500?
I know he won the title in 95.
If you don't know this, the
Yeah.
last
I'll
question
tell
is
you.
going to torch you.
I'm still thinking possibly Arie Luyendyk.
Okay.
The last corner of Is it Zandvoort?
Zandvoort.
Zandvoort.
We were only talking about it earlier.
Yeah. I didn't know anyone pronounced it right. Is named after me.
Yeah, but makes sense.
Makes sense.
It's
to be named after a Dutch driver.
Yeah. I think Paul might have this. Is that the last clue?
Is that the last clue?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a spaffer?
No, there isn't.
Should we go for it?
Let's.
Are you Arie Luyendyk?
I am.
Yes.
Good work, Paul. Good one. I'd never heard of him. Never heard of him at all.
Fantastic IndyCar driver.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, my little dyslexic brain couldn't even read his surname.
I was going to say there's possibly a bit too much Dutch in there for you. That was a great one. Thank you very much for that, Red.
That's a very
Thank
good
you.
one. We enjoyed that.
Cheers, mate.
How do you get a total shunt in?
PM me on Twitter and tell me one. Give me the questions.
And your Twitter handle is?
At a total shunt.
And the rest of us are?
At Flood21.
At Dan Dankleton.
At Pablo100. Sean is at Sean Cowper. And you can get the show at 3 Legs 4 Wheels. Quick plug for the Patreon before we do Formula Lee. Interesting show this week, to say the least.
A bit.
Yes. Extra show that we do every week with non-Formula 1 stuff and the occasional exclusive on there. Occasional. Might be one in 5 weeks. But I'm still,
Which we still don't know about.
Which you still don't know about, and I'm enjoying the fact that you don't know about, because it's something that hasn't happened yet, and I'm hoping will happen for 5 weeks' time. That's all I can say.
If you're into line dancing and disgraced rock stars, this might be the podcast for you.
But you
Niche market.
Yeah. I think all 4 of us are in this room. You can get that for as little as $1 a month, and you can subscribe by going to patreon.com/3legs4wheels.
And thank you. We do love everybody who subscribes on Patreon, because it keeps us in check for microphones like this one that I'm talking into right now.
Apparently so.
And the one that's in a box over there that Lee still hasn't sent back.
That needs repairing.
Because,
Yeah.
because somebody at the microphone factory repaired the same one twice by accident.
Yes, he did.
Right, Formula Lee update. Just as a reminder, it is Spain and it is in the wet and it's in a McLaren because why not? I'm getting nothing from anybody else in this room.
No, I don't do Formula Lee.
No, I don't.
If you say in the wet, I turn off.
You usually don't get much choice. Your back end faces forward, your front end faces backwards, and you have turned off.
I did just pick up my 5th drivers' championship in the career mode though. Picked up my 5th drivers' championship and won my first constructors.
Very good. Who's your teammate?
Alonso.
Very nice.
Of course. Got a new game out in about 7 weeks.
Have you seen the graphics?
Well, the graphics are the same. The lighting model's different.
Yeah. I was going to say the graphics look, the lighting model, the reflecting of the lights on the car and the drivers' helmets from Night Race in Bahrain.
GP2 in it this year.
Look very very different to, and a lot more realistic.
I'm looking forward to it when it comes out.
Actually, if
Codemasters are listening to this, I'm looking forward to seeing it before it comes out. Hint,
the
hint.
advanced copy that we ask for every year. Yeah.
If any Formula Lee's guys are interested in it, I had a really good chat about it on yesterday's Hot Lap podcast. So go download that, and I go into the details of all the new bits.
Right, we will be back next week, wrapping up the Spanish Grand Prix. Looking forward to the testing session, and we've got Craig Scarborough in 2 weeks' time, as we all found out at the same time tonight when he sent me a tweet.
Yes.
Until then, we'll see you soon.
We will.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.